everyone, welcome back to the funny and inquisitive Comic Vault. I'm Captain Logan.
And I'm Eric.
Today, Eric and I are going to talk about War of Jokes and Riddles. This is, in trade anyway, Volume 4 of Tom King's Batman. We previously reviewed the kind of trilogy of I Ams, and we skipped the little bits in between.
Well, I read them, but you didn't.
But, oh, that's right.
Remember, it's at the end of the I Am
after
being
the
played.
I Am being, yeah, that's right.
Well, although I did not read the Swamp Thing things, I did not read. We didn't do the Bud.
That's what I'm saying.
We skipped
We
That's
skipped
right.
the Bud.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess we could have done that, but that would have been like 5 minutes.
Yeah. I still haven't read the Bud. I just don't care.
But we're going to talk about
I've heard there's good things in
the
it.
major arcs. But yeah, I mean, I liked it okay.
Sure.
But we're going to talk about the major arcs with Tom King. And here comes War of Jokes and Riddles. Eric,
This was big.
Yeah.
This was really big. Like, when this came out, it's the biggest I've seen Batman, like, popularity, like, buzz-wise, since maybe Court of the Owl.
I didn't see that, so I'm not sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't realize that. If that's
a lot
the
of
case,
it's
I don't know.
a lot of it's.
I thought it was just Tom King in general. I mean, like the hype was already real with the I Am stuff. I didn't see War of Jokes and Riddles any bigger than that.
Like, anecdotally, no one cared about Tom King's Batman until this book started.
Really?
In my store.
Oh, okay.
There were
okay,
people
sure.
that did not care, and I had people.
See, I didn't see that.
People who
a
came
while,
in and all of
yeah.
a sudden were reading it, were subscribing to it. Not unlike Metal, but not to the extent.
How much of that was just because
It's a
we
big
finally
Joker
did a
story.
Joker story again? I mean,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
we haven't seen him in Rebirth.
Yep. No, I think a lot of it was that.
Yeah.
But no, the sense that I got was that this was a big deal, not just for Batman, not just
and
for...
also people really like Riddler and Zero Year.
Yeah, yeah.
So people might have come back that were reading 52.
Yeah. Not just for, like, the people that love Tom King, but, like, just Batman fans in general. Like, this seemed like a big one to me. This felt as big as the early Snyder stuff, pop culture sphere-wise. I know that Tom King is critically acclaimed, but I don't get the sense that he's... I'm not saying he's commercially not as well, but, like, it's not... I don't think Tom King commercially is as well received as Snyder was.
Yeah, that's right.
I think critically
the critics love him.
he's as good, if not better. But I think I don't think commercially.
And I was going to
is
say
big.
this. I think before this, you could have made the argument that for the average reader, he was maybe a little bit too cerebral.
Mm-hmm.
And this book is also, I think, pretty much the same brand of cerebral that you had before, but there's so much else to latch onto. I think this is the first time, and he has continued to do this but I think this is the first time that Tom King is layered in the sense that if you're not picking up on what he's talking about thematically, it's still a fun thing to read, and there are bits of that in the I Am stuff, but it's pretty. That book is pretty heavy.
Well, and it's also...
I mean, those stories are pretty heavy, and they've got those places where he clearly loves old comics and he gets comic booky.
This feels way more.
And this is just way more
feels
than
so
that.
classic Batman.
That's what I was going to say. Really classic Batman. Yeah.
It's not as decompressed, and
it doesn't feel like a twice monthly book
and
anymore.
very importantly, I think for mainstream readers, at least based on reviews I've seen on Amazon, he doesn't just keep repeating phrases.
Yeah.
The
He
number
has one.
The
and
number
it's
one complaint
not as-
of 1-star reviews for Tom King Batman books on Amazon is he just says the same thing over and over.
Well, and if you're not paying enough attention to what he's doing with that, and with that as a device, maybe it's an overused device, but if you're not paying enough attention with the I Am stuff, with what he's doing with that, it looks like padding because it's double shipping. This also reads better in trade than I think the previous 3 arcs did.
I thought I read the first couple issues. I only read the first issue of this.
Okay.
I liked it a lot.
I had the exact same thing with this, except for the decompression issue. I don't think it has that at all. I think it's wonderfully well paced. And I think even with the interludes with Kite Man, it's really well paced, especially because you don't realize how important those are until you get to the end. And I think that's kind of cool, where it is actually one fluid story that isn't being interrupted, but it pretends like it's being... Tom King really likes to play around with expectations with formatting.
Yes.
You remember that whole every epilogue as a prelude thing. Like,
Yeah.
he likes to really play around with what
Yes.
you're used to seeing for organization, and he does that with this to some degree as well.
Yeah, every epilogue is a prelude is when he proposes, I believe.
That's right. But he had, which is cool, because that's a prelude to, like, the big thing that's overarching that he's getting to when we get to 50. We're also going to review that today, too. In fact, I think we should do that in the same video. We'll tack that on the end of this.
Yeah.
We'll jump ahead. We'll just review that one issue, and then eventually we'll go back and we'll review everything in between. Eric, I had the exact same thing with this that I did with I Am Gotham, which is I had to read it 3 times. I don't know what it is with Tom King. I don't have a read on it until I have multiple readings. I thought it was reading month to month and then looking at it in trade with I Am Gotham. I read this 3 weeks ago. Wasn't sure about it. Read it again today. Really, really dug it. It's like I needed... He is a 2-read guy. And I said 3 because I had read these
issues almost doesn't
too.
count.
But yeah, so I mean, I guess it was more like 2 for me. But like, he is a 2-read guy.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
But I mean, you only read it once and really liked it.
That's
so.
And I'm sure there's things I didn't get.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like
because
in real life,
again, he's really layered, right?
I'm
like,
sure that there's things
subtext
I did not pick up on and didn't get. I'm sure there's visual things that I didn't pick up on.
I bet, yeah. But I mean, I didn't even fully appreciate what he was doing with the question of the difference between jokes and riddles until a second read, and with why exactly Joker thought that his saving Batman from killing the Riddler was so funny. I finally get that at the end. It read pretentious to me the first time around. It read like I sort of sometimes feel like with Snyder's Joker, where it's like it's so cerebral and big and overthought that I don't see how even the Joker would be laughing out loud about it. Then I read it a second time and I totally got it.
I mean, I can say reading it when I turn the page and the Joker's like, I have to set off. I didn't audibly have like a ha, but like mentally I'm like, ha.
But you got why that was funny.
Yeah. No, I thought. Well, and that's the thing I said to you when we discussed it briefly after I read it, where I was like, that ending's really funny, and you were like, is it?
I don't know how to laugh at something I'm also finding narratively powerful.
Sure.
I think, and I did have this on first read too, and when I say first read, I mean month to month. I think this is one of the best retroactive adds to Early Days or Origin that I've read.
Sure, I have issues with it. With that.
Really? Okay, we'll talk about it. Just and obviously, like, a lot of writers kind of reinvent the world and reinvent Batman whenever they get to it, and you know, he's even poking fun at that with the whole like double story about the
year
Batman
one versus the Batman number
meeting
one
Catwoman thing, all of that.
Yeah.
So like he's already playing with the idea that we are constantly reworking and retconning things, and he works that, and Morrison does that too. But I just really like, whether it works or not ultimately, I really like the notion that the Joker Batman cat and mouse game that goes on forever and ever has an impetus point. I really like the idea that Joker needed to create the Batman doesn't kill thing for Batman, and I feel like I should resist it, but I don't. I actually really like that.
Well, Batman already has that rule.
Yeah, but he's really not. But okay, no, I get that. Let me revise what I'm saying. But I really like the idea that the one time that he would have done it, it's Joker that stops him, because I feel like that would make it even harder for Batman to kill the Joker if he ever got pushed that way.
Well, and it also makes the Joker, I don't want to say make more sense. It makes the Joker, he's seen that Batman can be pushed there, so he can probably do it again.
Yeah. And then he's going to keep trying. Imagine, going back to things that probably aren't canon anymore, imagine the end of No Man's Land with the Joker having saved Batman from killing. That's really interesting.
Yeah.
So what's your issue with it? Let's just start there.
I think we treat the Riddler in a way that makes more sense in current day than it does right after Zero.
No, I had that too, but I thought your issue was going to be something to do with the Batman-Joker relationship.
No, I have no issue with the character stuff.
But I just mean with the idea of retroactively adding that to the story.
No, that's great.
Okay, because I shouldn't like that, and I like that.
And I also like... It's something that I never knew I needed in the foundation of Batman.
Yeah.
On his side, character-wise, the fact that he knows that he is capable of that is very important.
It also makes a lot of sense that we're getting it now.
Mm-hmm.
And that, because a lot of the time we'll retroactively add a thing that's like, well, if that was there, it's stupid that we're just now finding out about it.
Mm-hmm.
He's telling the story to the one person he would ever tell it to,
Mm-hmm.
which is Catwoman.
Mm-hmm. In the one situation you would ever tell her.
Which is they just got engaged.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes sense as a thing that he would keep a secret. And so we never knew about it because Batman doesn't talk about it.
Yeah, yeah. I imagine that even Alfred doesn't know. None of the Robins know.
And sometimes I resist you're not knowing things that your protagonist knows, but it makes a lot of sense to not know things that Batman knows.
Yeah, yeah. No. All of my issues with it being an addition to history and continuity is, I don't know if... Okay, so I'm going to separate two things when I say story. I don't know if it makes sense to tell this story when it is. The Joker-Riddler side of this story, I don't know if that makes sense to tell when it happens.
I think it
the
would
Batman
be fine.
Joker thing, that story...
It has to be then.
Yeah.
That
yeah.
part has to be then.
Yeah, yeah.
If you told that... I mean, now theoretically, let's kick this around.
Mm-hmm.
It would be a different thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I don't want to rewrite the story, but is that a thing you could do in present day where you have a story where Batman is finally pushed to the edge where he almost kills someone? I just feel like he's gone through too much. It makes a lot of sense.
I feel like people would call foul.
Yeah.
I feel like people call foul like, oh, you think you're so cool, you can write Batman to try and kill somebody. I don't think people would react well to that in the modern... If you wrote it modern day current.
I think it is so important that we have the bodies piling up.
Yeah.
And we have the 2-page spreads with the faces.
Yeah.
And Batman remembers every person that died there. And like I think you feel the weight of that throughout it, so you buy that he's pushed to that point. I also think, and I didn't pick up on this until a second read, I also think the notion of Batman makes Gotham better and thinks he makes it better to the point where the weather is nicer than it's ever been, and he has a hard time not drawing a correlation with that. And he's gotten almost cocky about it, and he's like almost patting himself on the back, and he's like, I'm still tortured over my parents' death, and I'll never get over it, but at least I'm making the world a better place. And this is like the first time where a lot of people die because of Batman. It's not actually Batman's fault, but because the resistance is that real.
I mean, I guess outside Zero Year. Theoretically, we don't know what happens between Zero Year and this, right?
That's
all
true,
of his villains have been introduced.
But I mean, is Riddler? Because I haven't read that in a while, and we actually need to review that. We've never reviewed it.
Well, we talked about going through Snyder because we've never gone through Snyder together. I think you only did Court of Owls.
No, I've done a couple.
You did most of them, didn't you?
I did some with Dan too. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know why I thought. Oh no, we talked about doing
Morrison.
No, the first one. The one before 50.
Oh yeah, Black Mirror.
Black Mirror. We talked about doing Black Mirror.
No, I want to do that, absolutely.
Because we want to see if
I
this
only
holds
have
up.
one major Snyder thing to do other than that.
Which is Zero Year?
Which is Zero Year, yeah.
Have you done Super Heavy?
I can't remember. That one I'd have to look up. I think I might have done...
That's the only Snyder one I
do Super Heavy?
We have not
I guess we didn't? Okay. I know I did... Now we're just talking about the show. No, sorry. I know I did... What's the second...
Endgame.
Or the first Joker one?
Death of the Family.
Death of the Family, and I know I did Death of the Family and Endgame. I did one with Steve, I did one with Dan.
Endgame is Steve.
Game of Steve?
Endgame is Steve.
Yes. Game of Steve.
Yes.
Yeah, you're right about that. Okay.
Because I distinctly remember listening to that one. I like that more than both of you. I like Endgame quite a bit.
That's funny.
Not as much as this. I don't know if I like any Snyder as much as I like this.
And it's just the thing that drives me crazy about Snyder, and it's encapsulated in that. He does my work for me on the page, and I don't like that. I mean,
did you read the issues when you read it?
Well, yeah, but then I read it again altogether later.
But did you read the issues?
Well, yeah.
Okay, because Snyder rewrites in trade.
What?
So it is possible that you and I have a different read because I'm reading...
He special editioned himself?
He's done it with every single... He tweaks dialogue.
I didn't know that.
In trade.
Okay, but tweaking is different than completely rewriting it.
But he could make something more subtle. I don't know what Joker's look like.
But that Joker speech at the end, man, like, it feels like it's too long, and it feels like he's analyzing himself on the page.
That's fair. I liked the finality of it. I thought it felt like it could be a last Batman Joker story, and if you were going to do one, you might as well.
But it doesn't feel like a thing that's actually happening. It feels like somebody writing a paper about Batman.
I feel like that with a lot of Snyder. I didn't have that with that one.
Boy, and that was the biggest of them that way. We'll talk about this.
It's been years since I read it.
I mean, if we were to actually get... Maybe we won't talk about this. I don't know if we'll ever actually go through Snyder. We have to do... So here's the question I was going to ask you about Zero Year. We got off on Snyder. I think we just reviewed Snyder for about 3 minutes. That was fun. With a 0 Year, I don't remember if that was Riddler specifically doing a thing to Batman or to Gotham.
I mean, it's too Gotham.
Yeah, but
because remember, he holds the entire city ransom, and those people come up and like.
But that was the point I was making earlier, and you said I'm right, except maybe 0 Year. I don't think even 0 Year. I think this is the first time that the villain community gets together to go against Batman because he's Batman. Yeah.
Okay.
And I think that's so important. Like, I think it's really important that that's the first time. Oh, I'm sorry. No, not just Death Toll. That this couldn't happen without Batman's presence.
Yeah.
This is the first, chronologically. Maybe Batman makes things. Maybe Batman makes things worse stories.
Yes.
And the idea that that's the thing that would push him to kill someone, and he's never done it since. I love it so much.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
and again, we feel the weight of it. We see everybody that dies, and he blames himself without ever saying it. It never comes up. He doesn't say that to Catwoman.
Yeah. Yeah. He doesn't do the Peter Parker thing.
Yeah. He's not saying, or the Clark Kent Smallville thing, like, I came here in a meteor shower. I'm responsible for all these people's death. Batman's not doing that.
Yep.
But you can tell just putting those two things together. Like, he almost kills the Riddler, and look at all the faces of the people that have died. He's obviously blaming himself.
Yeah. Other than the fact that I don't think Riddler in this book makes sense continuity-wise with 0 Year. It's weird that we're treating him like a joke.
And the big thing is when Joker says,
you're the Riddler. Yeah. Well, in a world where 0 Year happened a year ago, lots of people. But it's also weird that he...
I mean, we basically had No Man's Land before No Man's Land with the Riddler.
When we get to the end...
He caused it.
When we get to the end... and he's like, I just play with you for fun. He's a real challenge. Riddler's been in prison since 0 Year. We're told at the beginning he's been in prison for a year. What is he talking about? Like, that doesn't make sense. That sounds like something that you would say in a modern context.
Especially because he got beat by Batman one time.
Yep.
And now but I think maybe the idea...
And he couldn't figure him out. That's the big thing at the end of that book, is that he can't figure Batman out.
But I think you might be missing some of the psychology with the Riddler. Because I think he's that arrogant. And he's that in denial. And he says, he must be saying, this doesn't actually come up in the book, so maybe I'm projecting something,
sure.
But maybe the idea is supposed to be like, okay, I got beat by Batman once, but it wasn't Batman. You know what I mean? Like, no, I can beat that guy.
Sure. I don't know, it just felt weird that, like, I don't know, that felt weird. Continuity-wise, thinking of 0 Year, that felt weird.
Well, otherwise, it's not like we're ignoring 0 Year, he's brought it up before.
Won't stop.
Remember, he only talks about things that happen with Snyder, and in the same list of major Snyder stories, that's where he, in one of the I Am stories, foreshadows more jokes and riddles. That comes up.
Yeah. I was going to say something about the other. If we're on negatives,
absolutely.
The other thing is, I wish we had a little bit more fun with the villains. I feel like they exist on the page. I kind of want some villain war, and I don't really get some villain war.
Yeah.
It's a lot of people talking about the villain war. I also, at the very least, I want to know why different people pick different sides.
Yeah, that would be nice. I think you need side books for that. I actually think this should have been an event.
Yeah.
And it's weird because with Snyder,
we
kept reading Snyder stories going, why does it have to be an event? Why does DC keep forcing things where you have to have, like, Night of the Owls on top of the Court of the Owls? That was completely unnecessary and superfluous.
Yeah.
What I read of it.
Yeah.
I didn't think that was necessary.
And Death of the Family and 0 Year.
Everything he did. Maybe Super Heavy didn't have Italian crossover things.
I think Endgame did too.
Maybe Endgame did. I don't know. But this could have, and I would have appreciated it.
Yeah.
And it would have been fun to read Tom King writing some of these villains early and see, well, I say that. He wouldn't have written his own tie-ins, probably. But
no, I would love it if he would go back at some point and do, like... we know the number of villains. Do a miniseries with all of the villains that... Or a bunch of the villains, and, like, you do Simon Grundy issue, you do a Man-Bat issue, you do a Scarecrow issue.
And I think, maybe this is
because he's good at writing issues.
Is this going too far? This reads like if Nightfall had been told in a miniseries.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know? Like, I'm not saying that War Jokes and Riddles necessarily had the legs Nightfall did, but, like...
This could have been a No Man's Land thing. This could have run...
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
I think double shipping, this could have run for a year.
It could have run for a year.
That's not a criticism. I guess really this, he creates such an interesting environment, I want to live in it more.
No, that's actually a testament to the book, is we actually wanted more of this.
Yes. Yeah.
And it feels like we get the Cliff Notes of the actual war, and it's interesting, and he's good at writing that stuff.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But, again, I would want those tie-ins written by him.
No, of course, yeah. But I mean, like, the chess match is pretty good.
The chess match is very good.
And I surprisingly actually kind of buy at the end, maybe I'm drinking the Kool-Aid too much because I'm enjoying it, I don't know, but I feel like by the end, I'm kind of buying that he knows what Kite Man's going to do and all of that. Like, it's a master manipulation plot that I kind of think I can track backwards.
The thing that he does really well is, first of all, it helps that I think his Batman is my Batman. And that
it's definitely very close to my Batman.
And I felt like that when we got to the end of the I Am trilogy, like his definitive word on Batman at the end of that is that Batman helps people. It's not about the darkness, it's not about the drive. He helps people. That's what he does. There's so much stuff in this. The book is... Tom King is very good at not taking himself too seriously. And he does weird, like, 70s comic things that I want to complain about. I want to say he's unrealistic, but I love so much. Bruce Wayne holding a dinner for the Joker and the Riddler.
It so much.
I want to be like, this book's too serious for something like that, but it's not. It revels in that comic bookiness. That's an issue that you could have done in 1978.
Before it's realistic. He totally understands that.
Yes. And I love that about it. I love so much of that. Just comic book.
Dude, the giant kites are right out of the 60s Batman movie. Right?
It is!
Like,
it is!
That's the umbrellas in that movie.
And he plays it in a light that it doesn't seem absurd. Too absurd.
Minor quibble about that, even going on to a second year Batman doesn't need a kite. He'd have a glider thing, right? Like,
wow, but he might just be going with the crowd.
Yeah,
he's playing with the team.
I thought it was weird that he needed that. I was like, no, you just press a button and the wings pop out. Batman returns. What are we doing?
You know what I didn't pay attention to that I just want to look at right now?
Mm-hmm.
It's what Batman's costume looks like. It's just a black one, isn't it? Also, so when I read this in...
I didn't pay attention to that either, has he?
In just a second, when I find the page with Batman. There's no Batman in this book.
There's no Batman in this Batman. You are going to have Batmans on your Batman tour.
Well, and to be fair,
right?
Batman's in the background of a lot of this.
He is. Yeah.
But you never feel it because he's narrating.
Because he's narrating it, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, this doesn't bother me, but I just want to ask you if this is a problem for you. Mm-hmm. I mean, I guess it's a visual medium, and if we did this in a movie, it would be the same way. If it's cinematic. Oh, okay, yeah.
It's Miller Batman.
It's Miller Batman, yeah. That's what I was going to say.
I do love that Catwoman design.
Oh, I know. I love it so much.
Great.
It's great. By the way, side note, I'm thinking about trying that Catwoman book that's about to start.
I'm also interested in that book.
Yeah.
It looks cool.
It looks cool.
And I've always wanted to read Brubaker's Catwoman.
Yeah.
That stuff's supposed to be great. So what I did read the first issue when it came out, just because everyone was talking about it, like I felt like I had to. This page literally blew me away, where it's the Riddler walks into the thing, and the office is so big you have to turn the page to see.
That's really cool. And that is my knee-jerk reaction, because of how I felt about Tom King at the time, was, of course, we have to pad this out because it's twice monthly.
Nah, it's just, he's really good at manipulating comics.
Yeah.
He knows exactly how to...
That is a thing he and Snyder have in common.
Yes.
But I think he's as good at it.
I think he's more consistent about it. Because we
does it more.
We never got anything like Court of the Owls again with Snyder.
That's true.
I think he's really good at manipulating a page. Or at the very least, works with artists that are really good.
I was gonna say because I got to give Capullo more credit for page layouts and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
With this, is he working with the same artist all the way through?
This book?
Yeah,
I think the interludes are a different artist.
but I mean since the beginning.
No.
That's what I'm saying. Like
no,
with
he is a
Capullo,
different artist every arc.
So what I'm saying is the consistency you're talking about. You do have to give him credit for that because that is obviously him working with an artist and consistent about it.
And I've heard his other books do that too.
Yeah.
He's not a guy who basically writes a script. Like, he's writing a comic book script. He's panel for panel, I imagine.
Yeah, or at least he's making notes where it's like, here, I want this to happen.
Yeah. Let's talk about the art for a minute.
Okay. There was a question I was going to ask you.
Oh, sorry.
I don't remember what it was. Yeah. So, this is a thing. I don't know how else you do this with something that's visual or cinematic, but if this were prose, it would bug me that we have a person narrating, but we get away from the narration and we see what people are saying in other scenes that Batman can't be in.
Mm-hmm.
I guess it just works because it's visual.
Yeah, because, well, one, he's not constantly narrating. Like, we're seeing scenes that he's not narrating. Batman's telling us what happened, but we as the audience are also seeing it.
Yeah.
Which I think is different
Than just it's not just a framing device.
Yeah, because there are scenes where Batman's not talking, so I
am glad we don't get into anybody else's heads though.
Yes,
because we don't have any other narration.
And I also think
There's
that
no other
most
internal
of
monologue going on. And that's another thing is this a rule with Tom King? I don't believe. I could be wrong about this. Maybe I'll go back and look and I'm wrong. I don't think Tom King uses internal monologue. I think every time we have it, there's some kind of conceit for it.
It's
I think
a letter,
it's always
or
someone
it's
speaking to someone, or it's written down. I don't think it's ever just in my head. Right?
No, you're right.
He's never talking to the audience.
You're right.
And it's a thing that took me a while to realize because I would think for a whole issue that it was just internal monologue, and then he likes to reveal what the framing device is at the end of an issue. Sorry, I didn't realize that until just now, but you want to talk about the art.
Well, I'm pretty sure, I have to reread it to like really pay attention. I'm pretty sure most of the time when we're seeing scenes, it's a lot of Batman saying like, and the war was heating up. He's a much better writer than I am a speaker. And the war was heating up, and the villains are really killing each other, and like we're seeing it happen, as opposed to...
And it's always the relevant stuff to the story he's telling Catwoman, because
Yeah.
it's just to set up...
Which is why we're not getting all that villain stuff.
It's just to set up the ending. Yeah. Yeah, and like, but I like that because it actually feels like a story you could tell in a single evening.
Yes,
and
yes, it does.
So that's good. We don't always get that.
Important.
And B,
Could you imagine like No Man's Land?
He is telling her some things that she knows already, but it's for
she's
context, and it's been years.
Yes.
And I like that a lot. It never the things that we
I
need,
love that she doesn't pick sides.
The things that we need to see for context that he's not talking about are the things he either doesn't know or doesn't need to tell her.
Yes.
So that's really good.
Yeah, I want to talk about the art. So, I'm pretty sure this is the artist of I Am Suicide, I think. And they're colored weird. I couldn't put my finger on I Am Suicide. I did with this. Sometimes it looks like CGI, and it takes me out of it. Sometimes I look at
too much depth.
A lot of it's skin. I don't know. There's something about it where, like, sometimes I look at like faces and things where I'm like, this looks like a CGI created.
Interesting. I didn't have that with
the scene. One of the big ones, and I can't even.
It reminds me of some of the scenes, especially with the Joker, remind me of the recolors for Killing Joke, which I like more than you.
Well, that's just which version you read first thing. Like, we've kind of talked about that.
No, I know that.
That's true.
But I like.
But, like, I don't know.
I didn't
like,
have that with the art.
This looks like CGI still images.
I don't have that with
it's
it.
So weird. I don't dislike it. It just occasionally takes me out of it.
I'm not sure where you're getting that from.
Okay.
That's really interesting. I mean, there's depth to it, but it still looks like it still looks like two-dimensional.
I can see it
drawing to me.
And see the art. It's entirely in the coloring. There's something about the way it's colored that I'm just not sure about, and it takes me out of it.
That's interesting. Okay.
There's a little bit of Uncanny Valley thing when I'm reading this, where I'm like, oh, that looks too real for a comic book page.
I didn't have that at all. Speaking of Killing Joke, though, do you think...
there were some great references in this book, too.
Let's talk about those in a second. Do you think that that Gordon walking to the carnival in his underwear is somewhat of an homage to that? Do you think we're calling back to that?
It must be. Especially in some of the other homage stuff we're doing here. I hadn't thought of that, but now that you say it,
I
yes,
didn't
of course.
until this reading, when briefly as we were cutting back and forth, I was like, wait a minute, am I looking at Killing Joke right now? And then I remembered what was going on, and I was like, oh yeah, no, that's what he's doing.
Killing Joke doesn't exist anymore. Or does it?
Who knows? You be the judge.
Because she got her legs back, but then she de-aged by like 15 years.
The 89 reference is really good.
I don't know if it's a Forever reference.
The 89 one we're talking about is when the Riddler gets, I guess he doesn't get surgery.
Well, it is surgery because he got shot.
Oh, okay. It's just yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
But it's not like facial reconstruction.
Yeah.
I forgot what the context of it was, but yeah, when he's like mirror,
which is also really. I do remember when I read that first issue. I think that's really funny. Where like he lays out this whole thing to the Joker, and Joker just shoots him. He's like, "This should be funny," and I'm like, "It is."
It's just really cool that Tom King tells these like very serious, thought-provoking stories that I need to like go take a shower and think about every time I read one.
Mm-hmm.
But he has such like reverence for Batman history.
He loves the 70s, and or the animated series, because animated series take so much from the 70s. Like, this is what a lot of this is what I think.
But I wouldn't have
of
expected an
Batman.
89 reference from him.
No,
like, that's really
no,
cool.
and maybe a Forever
And
reference.
almost certainly a Forever reference.
Who's afraid of the big black bat?
Bat, which is. It's not a cover. Where is it? It's
Kite Man. It's when Kite Man's hung up.
No, I know, but it's here too.
Oh,
It's right on that.
I
don't know if that was a cover or.
I think that was a cover. I think it was a cover for the first issue.
It's differently colored on two sides.
Interesting.
Yeah, but anyway.
Yeah, but
I noticed that this time. I'm glad I looked at this again.
This is great. I don't know how I feel about the preceding volumes, especially with 50, which we'll talk about in a second. It is possible for me that this might become my favorite run of Batman.
Interesting.
His take on that character is so close to mine, and I love Morrison because Morrison is all of the Batmans.
Yeah.
I think this is my Batman. And we'll see as it keeps going.
It's fun in a way it wasn't with Snyder.
Yes.
And there was fun to be had with Snyder.
Yes.
But this
especially when they learned how to color Capullo.
This I'm always enjoying.
Yeah, and
I say that. I'm not sure about it until a second or third read as far as thematic stuff, but like I'm always. It's weird. Like I'm almost. If this makes any sense at all, I'm almost on a first time around enjoying it on a more superficial level, but knowing there's more to it, and that's frustrating. And then I need a second read before the subtext comes to me.
I'm not willing to just immediately say that like this is my favorite run on Batman. I'm holding out. It's possible because it feels like the Batman that I love, grown up, is the more sophisticated version, which is all I've ever wanted from Batman, is the more sophisticated version of the Batman that I grew up with. This feels in some ways like the PG-16 rated version of the animated series.
But just commercial enough.
Yes.
That somebody who isn't getting that could read it and possibly still have a good time with it.
This more so than the I Am trilogy.
Absolutely.
I can hand this to anyone.
No, this one. Yeah. Sure.
Yeah.
Well, and it
and this is where it hits me. I'm like,
it's early and that it's not informed too much by anything else, but it is connected to his other stuff too. If you've read that, it's useful.
You can hand someone goes and say, Batman just proposed to Catwoman.
Go. Yeah.
That's all you need to know.
But if you didn't know that, when he brings it up like 3 or 4 issues in, it would be a nice reveal.
That's true.
It would read well that way.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool. We should talk just briefly because we're past time and I want to get to Batman 50. But let's talk a little bit about the ending. I mean, we did that a little bit, but I want to talk about just the joke Riddle thing because it's really smart. First of all, I like that because this is hard to pull off. I like that the entire time I think the Riddler's motivation is different than it is, and when I finally find out what it is, it makes sense. I get where you're coming from, and I agree with you that maybe not in this time period it makes sense, but I get what he's doing, and that's cool. That because the Riddler at the beginning is saying that he has the same thing Joker has, where he can't let anybody else kill him kill Batman because he has to solve that problem. He has to solve that riddle, and it
would drive him nuts if Joker was the one to do it.
The real riddle is the Joker. Now I'm with you that the idea that he thinks he can beat Batman that easily is hard to believe after 0 Year and nothing else in between. At the same time, I also buy that to him, the Joker is the more interesting mystery.
Sure. Sure.
This guy used to laugh at everything, now he laughs at nothing. I have to make him laugh. I love that.
I do need a third part of this trilogy, which is the first Joker story in this universe.
Okay.
I want that. And I want King to write.
Because that's very different.
Yeah.
Well, and we've talked about this. His Joker is fun again, and what's really
impressive, weird because
he doesn't laugh.
He's a sad Joker.
He says funny things the whole way through, but he doesn't think they're funny, and I love that. He really got me with the what is a joke versus a riddle thing, because
I never thought about it. It drove me nuts.
Well, and I had, and I love that we finally told a story about it. That is a thing. Obviously, this didn't work. It's sort of like the Martha thing, where I had always thought about that, and somebody finally did a story about it.
Well, and I mean, the 60s show, more than anything, is like, what is even the point? What is the difference between the Riddler and the Joker?
Anyone!
But then
the Riddler
they all did that, right?
Any villain in that show. Yeah, no, that's absolutely right. But I always had that with riddles. It was always frustrating to me because they felt like cheats. It didn't seem fair. It was like, there's only one right answer, but there are other right answers, and I just have to read your mind and get it in your head to get to get the right one.
But that makes more sense if it's a joke.
You treat it like a math problem, but it's not a math problem, right? When you get to the end and Catwoman says, "What does it matter?" Which is very in character for her, I like that a lot, but there is an answer. And I love that there's an answer, because the answer is the unpredictability of it. What happens at the end with the Joker saving Batman is funny because what he wanted was something unpredictable, and he thinks that he needs that. So like a punchline of a joke is funny because you didn't see it coming, and he thinks Batman has to die for him to get a punchline again. But what he discovered was that Batman wasn't exactly what he thought he was, and he wasn't what he was either. And it's partly funny because of how twisted it is, but he never could have seen that coming, and so that was funny. And the difference between a riddle and a joke is the difference between the Joker and the Riddler, and these characters, it's nuts that it took us this long to finally do this parallel, right? And mirror the way we
and I listened to with King at some point where he talked about, it seems weird that no one ever did this.
Yeah, it's about predictability. It's that for Riddler, riddles should be predictable and they're obvious to him, and nobody else gets them. And he thinks people are lesser than him and dumb because they can't see the obviousness of the answers of his riddles. But Joker, and so he either wants people to be able to answer riddles or he doesn't because it makes him feel superior, right? And with the Joker, it's the opposite, where he doesn't want you to be able to answer the punchline. And remember, all the different stories by a bunch of different writers that we've seen with the Joker, but especially in the animated series, where the Joker will get angry if he tells a joke and somebody delivers the punchline before he does.
Yeah.
That happens a lot, right?
Yeah.
It has to be unpredictable.
Yeah.
Like, he grabbed onto something that is elemental with this idea that I've never thought of.
How did this not come earlier? The second people were suggesting the Riddler be the villain for the Dark Knight sequel, and everyone's like, but wouldn't he just be kind of similar to the Joker? How did someone not immediately go, well, there's a story there?
That's the obvious thing to do right after that. What is the difference? Yeah. No, it's really, really good.
It is. It's really good.
And also I like the idea of creating a personification of a joke in Kite Man.
Yes.
I wanted to make sure and say that.
Yes. Kite Man's great.
And his backstory is both tragic and funny. It's wonderful. Yeah, he's sad and messed up, and but it's also so silly.
Yeah, it's great.
So yeah, this is
not as good as the Brave and the Bold origin for Kite Man. As we discussed.
Yeah, and he means comic book Brave and the Bold.
No, I mean the animated series.
Is that wait, the thing you told me about is from the cartoon show?
That's from the cartoon show.
I didn't know that. You have to explain that real quick. You have to tell people about that. It's great.
Pull up the Wikipedia, I'll just read it real quick.
You want to just read it? Yeah, sure.
Because I don't remember off the top of my head. Something with Ben Franklin.
It was something about Ben Franklin. Oh my god, I didn't know it was from the cartoon show!
So, if you don't know, because I didn't know, Kite Man's origin is, or Kite Man's name is Charles Brown. And when they said his name was Charlie Brown, I was like, I have to go look that up. I have to go see if his name... When was Kite Man created and his name was Charles Brown? He was created in 1960.
And it was always Charlie Brown.
They don't call him Charlie. Well, here's what's weird, is it's Charles Chuck Brown?
Yeah.
We do call Charlie Brown Chuck.
We do, yeah.
So anyways, I'm just looking to see, like, has Kite Man been anything? So he's in the Brave and the Bold cartoon, voiced by Jeffrey Combs. And this is his origin story.
Which is just the most opposite character from the question you could possibly get, right?
This is his origin story. As a boy, he was obsessed with Benjamin Franklin and attempted to recreate his famous kite-flying electrical experiment. However, he failed to take adequate safety precautions, wore metal bracelets, and stood in a bucket of water.
Stood in a bucket of water!
The subsequent electrical shock psychologically traumatized him and forced him into a life of kite-centric crime.
We have to watch this episode.
We have to watch this episode.
Oh my god.
It's gonna be on DCEU, right?
Yeah.
Ready
But
for
I have seasons 1 and 3. So whichever season, if it's in 2, we're son. But I didn't buy 2 because 1 and 3 I was able to get in the complete box sets, but 2 was split into 2, and I think there is a complete 2.
There is a complete 2.
It.
Yeah. Yep. I remember all this.
To anyone that thought that was interesting. Okay, we're gonna review Batman 50 real briefly, and then we're gonna go on.
We're gonna have a therapy session about Batman 50.
We
I
are.
think is what
Yeah.
we're gonna do.
We're gonna go on to a second video after this, and talk about some things that we read separately, including something that was requested from Ian McKee called JSA: The Golden Age, which I read and you did not, but I'm going to talk about that a little bit. And then you got a bunch of Wonder Woman, so
I read a lot of Wonder Woman.
We're going to do that in the following videos. So stick with us. Let's go ahead and talk a little bit about Batman 50. Okay, so I read this real fast before you got here.
Okay.
So I have not had time to process
And I read it
this.
like 2 weeks ago.
I have not had time to process this.
Okay. Well, I texted you right after I read it.
Am I an idiot? So
Okay.
they don't get married.
No, they do not.
They don't get married.
They don't get married.
I want to love that.
Okay.
I want to. And the reason I want to love that is because we never get to be surprised by these things. We never do. A death, a marriage, whatever it is, you don't get to do this, right? We always like make a big deal out of something for 6 months and you know exactly what's going to happen. I want to love that. It also feels unfair and like a cheat to me. I don't know. But I want to, like I said, I haven't had time to process it. I want to love that.
This is not the first time we've done this.
Is it not?
With
Catwoman, specifically?
Well, not with Catwoman.
Okay.
We built up a really big deal out of the Green Arrow Black Canary wedding.
Okay.
And it doesn't happen. It's a weird, like, clone situation where, like, there's an evil Oliver Queen.
Okay, but this at least isn't that. It's like the frog eating thing in Lois and Clark.
They never get married.
Okay, but it's not like that.
But a lot of comic weddings end like that. The wedding between Dick Grayson and Starfire in the 90s, which I also think was built up to quite a bit, also doesn't happen. This is a common thing in comics. We build up weddings and don't pay them off. We usually come up with a reason for it to happen, as opposed to... Okay, this is one of the most beautifully written things I've ever read.
It's really good.
However, I don't like that... One, I don't like you string them along all this time to just get to this conclusion. Two, like, couldn't you figure this out before the wedding day?
Yeah.
Two, I don't like the implication that she didn't come to it on her own. That her friend was working for Bane and whispered it in her ear kind of thing. That takes an agency away from that character I'm not comfortable with. Like, it's...
I also don't feel like I really saw it happen on the page, just on a first read.
It's only implied, so it could be different. It could just be...
And some of that is because a lot of... most of this is not narrative. Most of it is letters.
Yeah.
And parallel letters.
It feels like she's just real flighty, and her friend was easily able to change her mind. Because we don't actually see the scene where it happens.
And because they seemed...
It's all implied.
They seemed very much, both of them, committed to this idea.
Yeah, it seems like you would have had a conversation about.
And you didn't read all the lead up. I didn't read all the lead up.
I didn't read any lead up.
I read some of it with everything that happens with like them and becoming friends with Lois and Clark and all of that. Like, this makes me heartbroken, and I'm supposed to be heartbroken.
Yes.
And I
not having read any of that, I was heartbroken.
I want to love it for that. At the same time, is it forgetting the narrative things that aren't working that you're bringing up that you're absolutely spot on about that. And I feel like that she and her friend don't get enough panel time for me to necessarily buy that.
And I didn't read the in-between, so maybe it's set up better.
Maybe so, I don't know. But, maybe it is. Maybe a lot of that's in earlier issue.
Yeah. I'm not one to pull the gun on that.
We're talking about one issue. However, I'm just wondering if it was too much of a cheat to call this a wedding issue and
I did not like the marketing of this.
The marketing of it, the best man lead up.
I don't have an issue
all of that
with saying Batman and Catwoman are having a wedding. My issue is that we built issues around it. That we did spin-off miniseries and all of this stuff. I don't like any of that.
And I'm sure, I imagine Tom King's
that
argument at least in the case of the book he's writing.
Mm-hmm.
You're forgetting what DC is
They're
doing
excited.
around it.
They
but, like,
think it's going to happen.
Right, and I think you could almost make the argument, and maybe King would make this argument, that for Batman and Catwoman, this is a wedding. That this is like the closest you would ever get. You know what I mean?
You're talking about the fact that it's like underground with like a drunken priest.
No, I mean like what actually happened, that they walk away from each other, that like it was inevitable. And here's the thing, I have been arguing. Yeah, harsh mention. I was arguing this entire time that Tom King was making the case that Batman and Catwoman are actually soulmates, and people were arguing with me that that he's saying the opposite, or that Batman and Catwoman can't be soulmates, and it seems like they were right. And
I don't agree with that. Okay.
Or is the idea that they are soulmates but she's not?
They are soulmates. However, he cannot be Batman if he's happy.
Right.
That is the
And so she's giving up her soulmate so that he can.
It's a star-crossed lovers
people.
thing.
Yeah.
No, I absolutely think it's a star-crossed lovers thing. And I think I've said before, maybe not here, maybe not in years, I mostly only like Catwoman or care about Catwoman when her and Batman are together. Is the best part of Hush.
Yeah.
I really like them as a couple.
I know you're not always a big Catwoman fan.
I'm not, but I don't dislike her. I don't like the middle road that we play with her, where like we just rehabilitate her and make her a hero, but we want to keep going back to that cat burglar thing, and I don't think that's fair, and I don't think it makes sense.
King walks that line really, really well.
It would be like if Oracle and Batgirl we just kept going back and forth on. Like, sometimes she has legs and sometimes she doesn't. Like, that's what it is.
Yeah, okay.
I like Catwoman as a hero with Batman. I like them a lot together. My issue is we can't...
And informed by her burglary past.
Yeah. My issue with Catwoman is we're scared of going away from what everyone knows as status quo. That's my issue, is we have to keep taking her back to Cat Burglar.
I don't feel like that's what's going on.
No, that's not what's going on.
Like, I don't think King is afraid of status quo. I think he's making a really good argument that she would do this. The problem is you built it up as the big wedding thing, so we know they can't get together now. Like, if they did that later, that's Lois and Clark nonsense. Like, we can't do that.
No,
right?
Yeah.
Like, they're not going to get married after that. We're not going to get to 100 and have a wedding album issue, right? Like, they're not going to do that.
And they put out a hardcover, the wedding album. Here's the thing. My issue is
I'm just very conflicted about this as an idea, as we're going to say it's a wedding issue, but they won't actually get married.
And I don't think any of that is on King. King didn't come up with those miniseries. King didn't come up with those ties, I don't think. Here's the thing.
No, but he did butter us up for 25 issues. He did write like Best Man and all that stuff leading up to. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. I mean, I didn't read any of that stuff.
It is. I just bought it. Like, I just know what's on it. But like,
yeah. Okay, so
it's better than if he killed her, right?
Here's
like that would have been like.
Well, no, because that's what I thought was going to happen. Not her. What I thought was going to happen was not having read the issues in between. Because look, we're grown-ups, right? We know that superheroes aren't allowed to get married. This was never going to stick. What I thought was going to happen, because we know from the beginning of King's Run, Batman's going to die.
See, I actually didn't think that. I thought they would get married, and I thought he would just do something to either reverse it later or just let it stick until they wanted to retcon it. Because, like, DC doesn't really seem to mind retcons anymore, right?
That's true.
Like,
well, here's what I thought was going to happen.
Or we know they find silly in-continuity ways to do it. Here's what I don't get. If we can give Superman a son, why can't we marry Batman? Yeah, if we can change status quo in those kinds of ways, like I guess that doesn't like tie Batman down or Superman down though. You could get rid of the son, you could go somewhere else, whatever. But anyway,
so my issue is that where was I going with that? Or what I thought was going to happen was because we know from the beginning of King's Run, Batman's going to die. I thought they were going to get married and he was going to die. Yeah. He was going to come back. We were going to do that comic book thing where he just never mentioned that they were married. We just never brought it up again.
I completely forgot about the he still has to die thing.
He still has to die, and so that's what I thought was going to happen. So I was a little miffed. I was like, oh, so they didn't even get married. I'm more annoyed. Her reasoning is sound. My issue is that it took her this long to get there, and it seems like she was manipulated. I don't like the idea that Catwoman is that easily manipulated. There may be more to the story. I'm sure there is. I didn't read the in-between things. I haven't read what comes next. It seems not fair to that character. She's smarter than that.
And on principle, if anybody's going to do it, I like that it's Bane.
And that it's her best friend, I guess. But, like, I don't know. There's something there I'm not... I don't know. I haven't read the in-between.
And it's also really interesting because as a big, landmark issue, and a big thing that we were building to, like you expect them to get married, not just because they've been selling it that way, but because like it reads like an anniversary issue. It's got like all these different artists, and everybody comes in for it. Like Lee does a page, and Bermejo does a page.
I know this is going to sound dumb. Miller does a page, and yes, of course, because DC has Miller right now.
I didn't expect that.
We've done like 4 issues of Daredevil like this, and Miller never came back.
Really?
It's big for me that Miller doesn't.
It just felt like everybody came back, right? Like who wasn't here?
Dead people.
Like Fabox here. Did
Neil Adams?
Neil Adams come back? I don't think
I'm not sure.
I don't think
he's at DC too. It's actually surprising if he's not.
It's weird if he's not here. Yeah, but I don't think I was actually paying that much attention.
Well, the front probably lists all the writers or all the artists, right?
Hubert's there,
or maybe not.
About that? No, it doesn't.
Hey, small rant. Can we pick a designated place for credits?
Yes, I know. I talk about that all the time.
I hate it.
It drives me crazy.
I hate it.
And King is back to every single place has to be named after a comic creator. And
I think there's some of that in War Jokes.
No, I don't mind it either, but I can't remember what it was. But remember, there was one that was really funny because there was the same guy had a room in both Arkham Asylum and We Manor. Was that what it was? Was that what it was? It was the Morrison room.
Yeah,
and it was in both.
Yeah,
and that was really funny.
Well, no, I think it was Morrison Street, and then there was like Morrison. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it was.
I can't remember.
I think it was a. No,
I think it was a room in both. Yeah.
But gorgeous book.
But I like that Conroy got one.
Yeah.
Kevin Conroy got his own room. That was pretty cool. Because usually we just make it... Conway. I thought it was Conroy. No, it's Conway. Okay. That's consistent, though. Because
it's always comic writers and artists.
It's always writers and artists. But that would be cool anyway.
That would be cool.
But Englehart got a room, and... Yeah, anyway. So we'll just have to see where this goes.
And we're supposed to feel mixed about this, right?
Okay, we're not so O'Neill has an avenue, but I don't think he got a page, which is kind of weird. But or maybe we did that with people that didn't make it in here. Because Lin Weing's not in here either. But
he's not.
Lin Weing's not an artist. So I don't know what I'm talking about.
Not as Conway.
Yeah, no, of course.
I love this page.
Yeah.
We're supposed to feel heartbroken. We're supposed to not be sure about this, right?
Like,
it feels not fair to really.
It's gutsy.
Yeah,
it's really gutsy.
It feels not fair to really review this. I'm airing some of my potential
talk about it.
worries.
Yeah. Well, this is the reason I don't talk as much about single issues anymore because I always have to say I'll wait and see, right?
Yeah. No, and this feels like a real wait and see. I'm willing to give King the benefit of the doubt that
we will later retroactively love this.
Yeah. And if nothing else, it is beautifully written and it really breaks my heart.
And all the artists were cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, good to see that.
Yeah.
Well, folks, that's going to be it for the Tom King stuff for the Comic Vault. Join us for part 2. If you're watching in the playlist, you can just let it roll, and you'll get right to the rest of our comic reviews for the week. We have a lot more to do, so join us, will you? Thanks a lot for watching. I'm Captain Logan.
And I'm Eric.
And we will see you again very shortly.